Yes, look, broomsticks. We've got to catch the key to the door, but there are hundreds of them. Um, Ron examined the lock on the door, or we're looking for a big old-fashioned one, and probably silver. They each sized a broomstick and kicked off into the air, soaring into the midst of the cloud of keys. They grabbed and snatched, but the bewitched keys darted and dived so quickly it was almost impossible to catch one. Not for something was the youngest seeker in a century. He had a knack of something, spotting things other people didn't. After a minute's weaving around about through the whirl of rainbows feathers, he noticed a large silver key that had a bent wing, as if it had already been caught and stuffed roughly into the keyhole. That one, he called to others. That big one, there, I see it. No, there, with the bright blue wings, the feathers all crumbled on one side. Ron sped speeding in the direction that was Harry was pointing, crashed into the ceiling, and nearly fell off his broom. "We've got too close on it," Harry called, not taking eyes off the the key with the damaged wing. "Ron, you come at from above. Hermione, stay below. Stop it from going down, and I'll try and catch it right now." Ron dived, rocketed upward. The key dodged them both, and Harry straight after it. It sped toward the wall. Harry leaned forward with a nasty crunching noise, pinned it against the stone with one hand. Ron and Hermione's cheers echoed around the high chamber. They landed quickly, and Harry ran to the door. They struggling his hand. He rammed into the lock and turned it. Worked. The moment the lock had clicked open, they took a flight again, looking where they very battered. Now it had been caught twice. "Ready?" Harry asked the other two, his hand on the handle. They nodded. He pulled the door open. The next chamber was so dark they couldn't see anything after all, but as they stepped into it light flooded the room to reveal an astonishing sight. They were standing on the edge of a huge chessboard behind the black chessmen, which were all taller than they were carved from what looked like a black stone. Facing them way across the chamber were the white pieces. Harry, Ron, and Hermione shivered slightly. The towering with white chessmen had no facemen. "Now what do we do?" Harry whispered. "It's obvious, isn't it? We got to play our way across the room." Behind the white pieces, they could see another door. "How?" said Hermione. "I think," said Ron, "we're going to have to be chessmen." Um, he walked up to a black knight and put his hand out to the knight's horse. At once, the stone sprang to life. The horse pawed through the ground, and the knight turned his helmeted head, took down at Ron. "Do we have to join to get across?" The Black Knight nodded. Ron turned to the other two. Thinking about how he said, "I suppose we've got to take place of the three black pieces." Harry and Hermione stayed quiet. Ron think finally, "Now don't be offended or anything. Neither of you are that god's chess." "We're not offended," said Harry, said Harry quickly. "Just tell us what to do." "Harry, you take the place of that bishop, and Hermione, you got to go there instead of a castle. What about you?" "Harry, you take on position Smare. Hermione, you'll be the queen's castle. As for me, I'll be a knight." said Ron. The chessmen seemed to have been listening, but at these words at night, a bishop and a castle turned their backs on the white pieces, walked off the board, leaving their 3 empty squares. The Harry and Ron and Hermione took. White always plays first in chess, said Ron, peering across the board. Yes, look, a white pawn moved forward 2 squares. Ron stared to direct the black pieces. They moved silently wherever he sent him. Harry's knees were trembling. What if they lost? Harry moved diagonally 4 pieces to the right. Their first real shock came when their other knight was taken. The white queen smashed him to the floor, and dragged him off the board, where he lay quiet, face down. Had to let that happen, said Ron, looking shaken. Leaves you free to take that bishop. Hermione, go on. Every time one of their men was lost, the white pieces showed no mercy. There was a huddle of limp players slumped along the wall. Twice Ron only just noticed in time that Harry and Hermione were in danger. He himself darted at the board, taking almost as many white pieces as had lost black ones. We're nearly there, he muttered suddenly. Let me think. The white queen turned her black face toward him. Yes, said Ron softly. It's the only way. I've got to be taken. No, Harry and Hermione shouted. That's chess, snapped Ron. You've got to make some sacrifices. I'll make my move, and she'll take me. That leaves you free to checkmate the king. But there has to be another way. Do you want to stop Snape from getting that stone or not? Ron, look, if you don't hurry up, he'll already have the stone. There was no alternative. Ready, called his face, but determined. Here, I go. Now don't hang around once you've won. So Harry, you are the one who has to go on. Not me, not Hermione, you. He stepped forward at the white pouch. He struck Ron and across the head with her stone arm. He crashed to floor. Hermione screamed but stayed on her square. The whitest queen dragged Ron to one side. He looked as if he had been knocked out. Shaking, Harry moved 3 spaces to the left. The White King took off his crown and threw it at Harry's feet. They had one chessman parted and bowed to leaving the door, ahead clear. With one last desperate look back at Ron, Harry and Hermione charged through the door and up the passageway. What if he'll be all right, said Harry, trying to convince him. What do you reckon's next? We've had sprouts. That was the devil's snares. Flitwick must have been charms on the keys. McGonagall to transfigure the chessmen to make them alive. That leaves Quirrell's spell and Snape's. They had reached another door. All right, Harry whispered. Go on. Harry pushed it open. A disgusting smell filled, making both of them pull their robes over their noses. Eyes watering, they saw on the floor of them a troll even larger than the one they had tackled, out cold with a bloody lump on its head. I'm glad we didn't have to fight that one, Harry whispered as they stepped closer, one of its massive legs. Come on, I can't breathe. He pulled open the next door, both of them hardly daring to look at what came next. But there was nothing very frightening in here, just a table with 7 differently shaped bottles standing on it in a line. His name's Harry. What do we have to do? They stepped over their thrust lord, and immediately a fire sprang up behind them in the doorway. It wasn't ordinary fire either. It was purple. Um, at the same instant, black flames shot up in the doorway, leading onward. They were trapped. Look, Hermione seized a roll uh, of paper lying next to the bottles. Harry looked over here, her shoulder next to it. Danger lies before you, while safety lies behind it. Two of us will help you. Whichever you'll find, one among us seven will let you move ahead. Another will transport the drinker back instead to among our number. Hold only nettle wine. Three of us are killers, waiting hidden in lime. Choose unless you wish to stay here forevermore to help you in your choice. We give you those clues for. First, however slightly the poison tries to hide, you will always find some on wine's left side. Second, different are those who stand at either end, but if you would move around, neither is your friend. Third, as you clearly all are different size, neither dwarf nor giant holds death in the insides. Fourth, the second left and their second on the right are twins, and once you taste them, through a difference at first. Hermione let out a great sigh, and Harry, amazed, saw that she was smiling. There were the very last thing he felt like doing. Brilliant, said Hermione. This isn't magic, it's logic, a puzzle. All lots of the greatest wizards haven't got an ounce of logic. They'd be stuck in here forever. But so will we, won't we? Of course not, said Hermione. Everything we need is here on this paper. 7 bottles, 3 are poison, two are wine, and 1 will get us safely through the black fire, and 1 will get us back through the purple. But how do we know which to drink? Give me a minute. Hermione read the paper several times. She walked up and down to the line of bottles, muttering to herself and pointing at them. At last, she clapped her hands. Got it. The smallest bottle will get us through the black fire toward the stone. Harry looked at the tiny bottle. There's only enough there for one of us, he said. That's hardly one swallow. They looked at each other. Which one will you get back through the purple flames? Hermione pointed at a rounded bottle at the right end of the line. You drink that, said Harry. No, listen, get back and get Ron. Grab brooms from the flying room, and then you'll get out of the trapdoor and past Fluffy. And then go straight to the Hourly. Send Hedwig a message for Hedwig to Dumbledore. We need him. I might be able to snap off Hope for a while, but I'm no match for him, really. Ron's right. I have to go on. But Harry, what if you know who is with him? Well, I was lucky once, wasn't I? Said Harry, pointing at his scar. I might get a lucky again. Hermione's lip trembled, and she suddenly dashed at Harry and threw her arms around him. Hermione! Harry, you'll be all right, Harry. You're a great wizard, you know. You really are. I'm not as good as you, said Harry, very embarrassed as she let it go off him. Me, said Hermione, books and cleverness. There are more important things. Friendship and bravery. And Harry, just be careful. You drink first, said Harry. You are sure which is which, aren't you? Positive, said Hermione. She took a long drink from the round bottle at the end and shuddered. It's not poison, said Harry anxiously. No, but it's like ice. Quick, go before it wears off. Good luck. Take care. Go! Hermione turned and walked straight through the purple fire. Harry took a deep breath and picked up the smallest bottle. He turned to the face of the black flames. Here I come, he said, and he drained the little bottle in one gulp. It was indeed as through the ice was flooding his body. He put the bottle and down and walked forward. He braced, saw the black flames licking his body, but couldn't feel them. For a moment, he could see nothing but dark fire. There was one on the other side in the last chamber. There was already someone there, but it wasn't Voldemort. It wasn't even Snape.